Hello, this is Bruce, and I'd like to thank you for joining me. This is a video showing the teardown of an ATC 90 or ATC 110 engine top end. These two engines are basically the same, except that one has a points ignition and one has the CDI ignition. In 1981, the ATC 110 went to the CDI. And you can identify these engines by the letters CDI on the ignition cover. This engine uses a points ignition, and this ignition was used in the ATC 90s and the ATC 110s for the years 1979 and 1980. And this is a 1980 ATC 110, and you can identify it by the vertical stripes on the points cover. That's for those 2 years. Now the ATC 90s, it had a smooth aluminum points cover, and it had a little circle in the middle of it. Basically, as far as tools, you will just use the basic hand tools, metric, sockets, wrenches, and screwdriver, pliers, and what have you, and two specialized tools. One of them is the impact screwdriver. Okay, this is the impact screwdriver here, and we have two bits here. There's a number 3 and a number 2 bit, and that should take care of all the these are for the Phillips screws, the ones that are in really, really tight. And what you want to do is, first, say you want to take this screw out, you would want to find which one of these bits fits in it really tight, and then make sure it's turned to the left, to remove it. And then you would hit it with a hammer until it budges, then you can take it off with a screwdriver. We're also going to need a rubber hammer, because once you take these parts off, sometimes they've been on there a long time and they're really stuck tight, so you can knock them off with a rubber hammer. It's softer, less likely to do damage than a regular hammer. Okay, well, let's get started. We're going to do this in 17 steps. And the first step is going to be to rock the ATC back onto a 3-point stance. It'll be on its back wheels and on the grab bar. Actually, this step is optional. You can take this engine apart with the ATC down on its tires, but you'd have to be crawling around on the floor if you want to do that. So it could be done in 16 steps. It's on its back wheels now, and I also tied it off onto another ATC to help stabilize it. Step 2 will be to take off the front fender. So you take off, there's 4 bolts holding it, take those 4 bolts off, and whatever washers you find under there. The fender's off. Next step is to take off the 2 bolts that are holding the carburetor intake tube to the cylinder head. Okay, it's these 2 bolts right here. There's one here and one on the other side. Okay, the bolts are removed now, and there's no reason to take the carburetor off. It won't be in the way. The cylinder head will slide right by them. Step 4 is to disconnect the exhaust. There's 2 nuts on there, and they're kind of rusty, and sometimes when you take them off, the whole stud unscrews. If it does, that's okay. Just take it off that way, and when you put it back together, just put it back together that way. Okay, well, the exhaust is off, and this one fell off, but there's only a little piece of the exhaust pipe left. The muffler and everything was gone, but You don't really have to take the exhaust pipe off. The cylinder head and the cylinder will slide by it. Step 5 is a real tough one. Remove the spark plug wire. Step 6 will be to take off these, the top motor mount. There's 3 bolts there and nuts. Step 7 is to remove the pulse generator cover or the points cover on the other engine. It has 2 Phillips screws. This is where you might need the impact screwdriver because sometimes these are on really tight. Okay, the cover's off, and I put the screws back just so I wouldn't lose them. And you'll see the pulse generator inside here is composed of 2 parts, the rotor and the stator. The rotor is magnetic, and these 2 parts are what takes the place of the points. So the next step, step 8, is to remove this stator plate. And there's 2 screws here. You take them out, and the stator will come out. And you just take it off and let it hang down. Okay. Okay, the stator is off. We're going to go do the corresponding thing over on the points engine now. Okay, I just took this cover off. I put the 2 screws back here for safekeeping, and we see the ignition points under here. This is a lot cleaner than the other engine. Okay, so next, step 8 is going to be to take these 2 screws out and to take this assembly plate off. And also what we have to do is under the frame here, we'll unplug this wire and we pull it through the block. It's a little bit different than the other engine. And you pull it through this holder here. And then you take these 2 screws out and remove the plate. Actually, sometimes you don't have to take a panel. You can just rotate it around and they'll come out to that little notch there. Yeah. Okay, that completes step 8 on both engines. Okay, now we're ready for step 9, and that's to remove the spark advance. And we're still on the points engine, so what we do is we take this center bolt off, and the spark advance assembly will just slide right off. You don't turn it or anything. Okay, now we're ready for step 9 on the other engine, the one with the CDI ignition. And it's the same thing. You take this center bolt off and washer, and pull actually you get 2 pieces this time. You're going to get the rotor and the spark advance. Okay, from here on the engines are the same now. We have all the electronics out of it, all the electrical parts out of it. And the next step will be, step 10 will be to take this either the point base or the pulse generator base off, depending on which engine you have. And to do that, there's 3 screws you take off. Okay, the 3 screws are off, and now we'll probably need the rubber hammer to get this base off. That wasn't too hard. And you want to take it off carefully. There's a little pin here sticking out of the side of the camshaft, and you don't have to, you can pull the pin out, but you don't have to. It'll clear the oil seal here. Okay, that takes care of step 10. Step 11 is going to be to remove the camshaft. And to do that, you want to rotate the engine so this pin is straight up. Okay, I don't know if this pin shows here. I'll move the camera a little closer. There's a pin sticking out. You'll see it on your engine, sticking out of the camshaft, and that's the one that turned the spark advance. And when that one is straight up, we're at the end. We're at top dead center, right at the end of the compression stroke. And both valves are closed, so we can get the camshaft out. And to do that, we have to take these two bolts off. Okay, now the camshaft should just slide right out. There it is. Step 12 is to remove this valve cover. And to do that, you take these 4 bolts off. And you notice this one is a little rounded, and underneath it you'll find a copper washer. Oh, by the way, you didn't want to take this off until this step because you wanted the engine to be tight while you took the camshaft off. Once you take the camshaft out, then you can take this valve cover off. Okay, everything's disconnected, so now we can slide the head off. Okay, I lied about the 17 steps. There's one more step. We have to take this valve adjusting cover off because it won't clear the frame. Okay, the cover's off. Now we'll try to slide it by. It'll probably be a tight fit. Usually the tire's not that way. I wonder if these forks are bent. Okay, I'll let the air out of the tire. Let's see if that'll be enough to get it by. Well, the next step's a lot easier. Remove the cam sprocket. Okay, that was step 14. Now step 15 is to remove the cam chain roller. And this is the cam chain roller right here. And to do that, we have to take this bolt off. Okay, the cam chain roller is off, and I put the bolt back in here for safekeeping. This video is getting a little long, so I'm just going to describe the next 2 steps rather than showing it. Step 16, you break the cylinder loose and slide it up over the cylinder studs. And step 17, to remove the piston, there's one circlip in there. You take the circlip out and slide the wrist pin through, and the piston will come out. Okay, I'd like to thank you for watching my video, and I'm going to give a screenshot of these steps. And I'm not sure if you can get this clearly on your computer or not, and I don't know if you can download it, but here's the steps that we just did.